Awareness Week, and we are teaming up with Parents Empowered to talk about ways that you can talk about the harms of underage drinking to the developing brains in your own home. We're talking about the kids, the teenagers.
Yeah. Well, joining us right now, Amelia Williams, the Preventions Coordinator, the Davis Behavioral Health. Great to have you with us, first of all. We are both parents of kids who are either preteens, teenagers, developing brains. That's something that I think kids are smart enough to talk about. Tell us, where's the baseline? How do we start the conversation, especially when it comes to alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because it's really important just to start the conversation, right? As early as 9 years old, it's really important to set those clear boundaries that you disapprove of underage drinking, and just starting with a very clear, early and often message with kids is really important.
Let's talk about how successful that can be when you start that conversation early when it comes to later in life.
Yes, we know that the earlier that kids start drinking, the more likely they are to have alcohol dependence in the future. So it's really important that we have that conversation early. And we also know that kids listen to their parents, even though we think they don't. We know from a recent survey, it's called the SHARP survey, which is a student health survey that's administered across the state of Utah. We know from that survey that the #1 reason that kids do not drink underage is because their parents have strongly disapproved of it.
Can I ask you a question about that SHARP survey? I remember reading data in the past, and I remember seeing a spike in young women drinking more. What are the numbers showing? Are we seeing our young men, or is it young women, or is it just both in general?
You know what, we're concerned about both. We want to make sure that all of our kids are safe and healthy. And one of the numbers I can share is that kids drinking in their own homes actually is a problem as well. So from our recent SHARP survey in 2023, we found out that of kids who have been drinking underage, that at least one time in the last year they have been drinking in their own home with parents' permission.
With permission?
With permission.
Well, those are the things that you would hear about, and I can't speak to the numbers of in the past to now, but you hear, well, the saying, I'd rather have them do it here under my own roof if they're going to be doing it at all.
I don't know if that's a good excuse.
Right, I mean, that's something that you've heard.
Yeah.
Why is that not the thing to do?
And that's a great question because we hear that a lot as well, is, you know, well, I'd rather have them in my own home.
Right.
That's actually very harmful because, as I mentioned before, the earlier that they start drinking, the more likely it is that they'll have alcohol dependence in the future. And we know that the youth adolescent brain, which is currently developing, is very different than an adult brain. So when they start drinking earlier, even if it's in the home and quote unquote safe, it actually is really unsafe for their developing brain, for memory, for all different kinds of problems. And when youth start drinking early on, it can lead to depression, violence, suicide, academic failure, a lot of things that we need to be protecting them from.
We're already trying to tackle the mental health challenges that we're facing now. Let's not add alcohol on top of it to make it even harder.
Absolutely.
Where, this whole week, you guys have things going on. Where can people get information and get engaged?
Yes, if they go to parentsempowered.org, there's lots of great tools. You've probably seen some of our commercials and other things going on. There's lots of tools and resources. And the 3 main things we want parents to remember is that they should bond with their kids, spend even a few minutes a day connecting with kids. You want to set those clear boundaries early and often that you disapprove of underage drinking, and then monitor. We want to make sure that we're following up. Every time that kid leaves the house, where are you going? Who will you be with? And will there be alcohol present?
Thank you for bringing this discussion to our table today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Amelia, thank you. Let's talk about weather now.